Hello, welcome back. This is Dave Briner from Synergist Technologies. Um, in our ongoing venture here to model different shapes, on the screen I have a miniature crankcase. I like this one for the fact that it has a number of features that sometimes are apprehensive to try when you're beginning in modeling. So we've got some holes, threaded holes, um, fillets, just and it's going to be an interesting sketch. So here's a model on the screen. I also, down below our description, I included this drawing so you can either follow along or try it on your own uh, when you have some time. So with any drawing, any model, I spoke about this frequently, several times. We have to decide how we're going to model it. When we start a sketch, you're going to have to choose a plane, and a lot of times it's not real critical of which plane you select. You have to think about it down the line. Am I going to need other planes off of that? Is there geometry that's going to be associated with the origin or those planes? So I have decided, at least on mine, that I'm going to choose the center of this hole as my origin. I could easily maybe choose this spot right down here in the middle, but I thought, dead center of this opening, since I have, the main shaft that go through here. So that's what I'm going to decide for mine. Like I said, it's always the best case to think things out. Is it going to be used? Is your model going to be used as a standalone? Are you going to add it to another assembly? Those sort of decisions. So let's just start another design. And I'm going to go up here in my sketch panel and select a new sketch. And I can choose any one of my planes. As I mentioned many times before, to start a new sketch, there's only two ways. It has to be a plane or a face. So we have nothing modeled yet, so obviously it's got to be a plane. But I like, I just, my habits, I like my Y plane for no particular reason. Then that's what I typically draw on. So, first of all, I'm going to have to go up and change my units. My default units are inch, but I want to switch these to millimeters, since our design here happens to be in millimeters. So again, I just went out to the units, clicked, and come to the pull down, and I have my selection, and it's going to be millimeters. So I'm going to say OK, and you'll see right away that my graph has changed to millimeters. So let's zoom in. This isn't real large. So now, again, I say this over and over also. There are many, many ways to sketch and to model. Most of them are probably correct. Few of them may be just wrong. But yeah, it's the way you work. That's all I can say. So the way I'm going to do this here may be right, may be wrong. It's just another way to do it. So we can come up to the sketch panel and select line, or we can go to the hotkey L on our keyboard. That works just as fine. If you follow me, I've mentioned before, I hit the S key on my keyboard, and my sketch toolbox comes up, and it's a contextual toolbox for sketching or modeling or whatever, drawing, whatever you have. And I have added some of my favorites that I use over and over again. It's just one quick stop shopping for me. I guess that's why I like it. So I'm going to select my line command, and I'm going to roughly sketch out a shape. So I am just going to come up, and I'm just going to see if I can't get something that's kind of close. So I'm just going to come up, and I'm just going to start sketching something. This looks pretty good. Okay, so you can see it's a closed shape. It's highlighted in the center. So now I have a decision to make. I can start applying dimensions right away, or I can start adding a couple constraints. And my preferred work method is I like to maybe get some of the little things out of the way first, so I like to add a few constraints. So over here in my sketch palette, I have any number of constraints, or I can right click and you're going to see that this is a new feature just added that I can come up and there should be here. If I click on a line, you're going to see that there's options available. So I'm going to start right here. So I'm going to come down to my perpendicular constraint. So I'm going to add, I want this to be perpendicular to this. Oh, my bad. This happens. You got to be careful that you do not have a line selected already. So let's try that again. I'm going to say perpendicular. I'm going to choose this line and this line. Now the other thing I do know that these are going to be perpendicular also. So I want this line perpendicular to that line and this line perpendicular to that line. There we go. The other one is I want these to be collinear. I don't know if I'm going to get that here. Let's try here and here. Very good. All right. Now the other thing I want is I'm going to draw a line, and a new feature just added. I want a construction line. I use construction lines a lot. It's just, you know, a carryover from my old modeling days, I suppose. Now a new feature is if I hit the X key, it automatically highlights my construction. It will stay in the construction mode. You can see that it's a dotted line, and it'll stay there until I hit the X key again, and then you'll see that it'll come out of the construction mode. So, well, it was supposed to. There it goes. See, now it's out, and I can hit the X key and go back in if I want. So let's get rid of this geometry. All right, so with this highlighted, I know that I need this point constrained. So let's do a coincident constraint. I want this point constrained to that line. Very good. Now, just to be safe, I think I'm going to start applying a few dimensions. So the first one is going to be my bottom width, and that is going to be 22 millimeters. And I know that I want this 1/2 the distance, so I can center it. I'm going to click. I'm going to choose my overall and divide by 2. All right, that works good. Let's see. I guess the other one is I want to make sure that I have this a particular distance from my origin. So I'll place, I think this is 7.5. And you can see right away that I better hurry up and get this one here. Let's get this there. And I'm going to pull this out, and this is going to be 3 millimeters. Much better. Okay, so I think right now I am going to apply this dimension, and you're going to see that, you know, I pulled out, it's got height, but if I leave it close, it'll stay aligned. If I happen to come up, I can right click and enforce a line dimension. So that's exactly what I want, and this is going to be 12.7. That looks good. Now you can see things are kind of getting a little bit out of stretched around. I'm going to put a dimension here for this angle so I don't lose that. And this is going to be 120. And the other one is going to be the overall height. So let's select the overall height of my block, and that is going to be 17. All right. Now you can see right away that as everything's constrained, it turns black. The right side of my sketch is black and fully constrained. You can see I can't drag anything around. but I still have a couple blue lines over here, and it's not fully constrained. So instead of adding more dimensions, there's a real nice constraint down here near the bottom called symmetry. And what it does, if I choose this line and this line, I want it to be symmetrical about this center. And you're going to see that line's going to go black. I'm going to do the same for this one. And that's it. So now you're going to see it's got the symmetry constraints in there. Everything is black, and my sketch is fully constrained. I have two other things I need. I need to put my circle hole here. So let's add two circles in the center. One is going to be, let's get that X out of there. One is going to be 6 millimeters. And somehow I'm still in the constraint. Let's take that out of there. Select it and hit the X key. There we go. And I'm going to draw a second circle, and let's make that one 12.5. Great. All right, that is all the the majority of the geometry that I need right now, at least all I need on this sketch. So I'm going to stop sketch, and I'm going to go to my S key, or you could come up to your extrude or hotkey E, and I'm going to extrude. I'm going to extrude this shape and this shape. All right, and I want this one to be symmetrical, and the overall is going to be 15. And the hole's already going through, and it's going to be a new body, and okay. So now I need to put this bore down the middle, and what I can do is I can come back to my sketches and turn my sketch back on. You'll see I have that center sketch on there. So let's extrude that one, and I'm going to extrude that sketch. Now this one, I don't want to cut through all the way. I want to leave a 3/4 of a millimeter wall here. So we're going to two sides. So you can see on this one, I want it to go a distance. Let's see if I can get, let's try all. And then down here on the second distance, I want this one to go, which one's this one going to be? 6.75. And that is going to leave me that wall that I want. I want it to be a cut operation. Now let's see if this one will go. And it only went one way. So let's try it again. Edit feature. Not sure why this one didn't go. We're going to say all. If the distance didn't come in the way I want, I am going to say 7.5, which should be, I hope that one's okay. Oops, 7.5. That's why. And now I should have it all the way through the way I want. I'm going to turn that sketch off, and that's what I'm looking for. All right. And if you're not sure if things cut all the way through, a nice feature is up here under Inspect, and it's a section analysis. So it's asking you a face that's going to do a section analysis on. I don't have a face I want to go through, but I do have an origin that I want to go through, and I am going to choose that plane right there. And you'll see right away it sections up to that plane. I'll just say OK, and I can see how it's formed. So I can come up and I am going to do a measure. So I can measure from here to there, and it's 0.75 millimeters, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. Alright, so we'll close that. So it's just a nice way to check how things are going. Now you don't want this all the time, so if I just come over to my analysis, I can You'll see this section down here where I can just turn off all. If I have more than one section analysis, I can turn them all off or off individually. And I can go back in later on and apply it again. So it's a nice way to check how things are being built. All right. Next, I think I'll put this boss on out here. So I am going to select a sketch, apply it to this face. As I mentioned before, it has to be either face or plane. And I'm going to choose a circle about this point. And this one is going to be 9.5. Stop sketch. And I am going to extrude this shape. You can drag it out a little bit, and this is going to be 6.5. And it's going to be a join operation. I don't need a new body. I just want to keep this all one body. I'm just adding a feature. And I'll say OK. So this is starting to look pretty good. Now I just have a habit of going in and I like to apply some of my materials first to see how things are going to appear. So I'm going to come down, I'm going to apply a metal. It's going to be aluminum. We'll go, how about 6061? We'll put that on there. And that looks nice. All right. So what I need to do now is come in and apply these holes. So these holes are slightly offset, and it's going to be 6.5 in one direction and 6.35 up, and they're going to be the same on both sides. So let's see if we can try that. So again, I'm going to apply a sketch to this surface. I'm going to place a circle, and I'm just going to place it somewhere. It doesn't have to be critical. Now I know the diameter of this circle is 9 millimeters. As I said before, we're going to come off of the end, and we're going to make this, we're going to apply a dimension from here to the center, and that is going to be 6.5. And I want it up 6.35. All right, everything's black, it's constrained. So I'm going to stop the sketch. I'm going to extrude this shape, and you're going to see that it's, if I pull up, it's going to add material and do a join operation. I don't want that. I'm going to pull down, and it's going to be a cut operation, and obviously it's going to be a negative dimension. And I've got to be careful here, because you can see that if I don't come down all the way, I'm going to end up leaving some kind of ledge in here, a lip. I can certainly go well beyond if I want, but I kind of like to maybe just get it right about where I'm going to need it. So let's just say, let's start with -6, and that's not what I'm looking for, because I'll still have a ledge there. So we'll say about 0.5, just a little bit. Let's try 7. Now 7's just breaking through slightly, and it works okay. I don't want an all cut. If I say all, it'll go right through the bottom. So that's going to work just fine for me. And we'll do the other side right away. So I'm going to apply a sketch to this side. I'm going to add a circle, and we'll just make that also 9. And I'll apply those dimensions. This one is 6.5, and it is up 6.35. Stop the sketch. I'm going to extrude. and I can just pull down a little bit, but remember that some of the pull downs, you'll keep some of your previous dimensions. So it's a -7 millimeters, and that works fine. It's going to be a cut operation, and we're going to say OK. So it's starting to look pretty good. What I need now are 4 holes around the outside. Now I can certainly extrude these in the same manner as I've done right now, but that's not really what I want. I want to make sure these are true holes, for the fact that in a hole operation I can make these a simple hole using a twist drill. It'll show me that twist drill tip, and it'll make sure that I want to be sure that I'm not breaking through the cylinder wall here. So let's start by adding a sketch, and what I want to do is I'm just going to add 4 points. Now I can get those points right here on the sketch pull down. I happen to have it because I use this command quite a bit. So in order to place a hole, you have to place a hole over an existing point. So I'm just going to click someplace. Now you're going to see that it's kind of clicking right away on all kinds of geometry. If I want that to stop and not start trying to automatically link onto something, I can hold the control key, and then the control key will not allow any soft constraints. That's exactly what it's called. So I have my 4 points, and what I need to do is dimension these. So if I look real quick, these are going to be 9 millimeters. All right. So let's and they're going to be off-centered, all centered around 9 millimeters. All right, so let's place a dimension. I'll select this one and this one. That's going to be 9 millimeters. And I am going to again utilize my 1/2 distance. So I click here, and here it's going to automatically choose the center. I'll click once, take my overall dimension, and divide by 2. I'll do that same operation here for these holes, the 2 holes here, 9 millimeters, and I'm going to select this one and here, and select the overall, divide by 2. So let the software do the math. I know this isn't high-level math, but sometimes you'll get a weird dimension, and why not let the software do it. All right, so I can continue to dimension and do what I did over here, but I'm going to use constraints, and for this I'm going to use a horizontal vertical constraint. This works rather nicely. It understands what you're going to try to do with it. So I'm going to select the first one, which you can see is black and fully constrained. I'm going to make a horizontal constraint there. Now all of a sudden that one's already fully constrained. I will constrain this one to that one, this one to that one, and you'll see that's black, and this one to there. Now all 4 points are fully constrained. So I'm going to stop the sketch, and I can come over to the create panel and select hole, or the hotkey is H, and it's asking me for a face or a point, and I am going to select the 4 points, and I'm going to come over here. Now here's an example. This is what I want. I want the tip. A typical high-speed steel twist drill is going to have a 118-degree tip. Diameter for this is going to be 2 millimeters, and you can see that, well, it's drilling all the way through, and that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. So let's cut back a little bit. 3's not doing it. 2.5, and I still have a cut through. So if I go there, 2.0. So if I go 2, you'll see that it's not cutting through, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to say OK, and you'll see right away that my tips are not cutting through the piston wall. That works great. Actually, this is a case wall. Let's do the same now to the other side. So quickly, I'm going to apply a sketch. I'm going to apply 4 points. Hold the control key to avoid any soft constraints. I'll add some dimensions. I'll add a 1/2 distance. The overall dimension of 9 millimeters and half that distance. Terrific. Now I'm going to come down and add my horizontal vertical constraints. And everything is fully constrained. I'll come in and add my holes. Now you'll see here, which is kind of a nice feature, it understands what your last selections were. It kind of keeps them. The 2 millimeter diameter and the 2 millimeter depth. So I'm going to leave it at that. There you go. So we can add holes to this, or threads I mean. So let's go to the create panel, and you'll see threads here. And it's asking you to select a thread face. So if I come in here, I'm going to say OK. Now here's one of the negative things I think about Fusion is it's, to collect the points, all I had to do was click, click, click. Now to choose, if I want to continue on with selecting faces, which is a little bit annoying, I have to hold the control key. Now I don't know why they changed methodologies here for selecting. So with this, now it knows it's going to be a 2 millimeter hole. It knows the diameter. It's taken the most common, which is going to be an M2 at 0.4, and it's going to be a 6H, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, a heads up on this, yes, I can select modeled threads, and boy, they look really nice. They're pretty sharp. But you got to make a decision that if you're going to do this on a drawing, be very careful, because the modeled threads really add a lot of junk, I guess you want to call it, to the sketch or the drawing. So right now I'll leave them. If that's, we'll look at them later, and we can always turn them off later on if you want. So I'll say OK. Now let's do the exact same thing again. So I'm going to go and create thread, select, hold the control key, select the other holes, and everything's in there, and yes, we can model them, and we'll say OK. Okay, I think one of the last things we have to do is the 2 holes on the bottom. So let's place a sketch, and I'm going to place a sketch again on that bottom face. I'm going to place 2 points, and you can see here's a perfect example why I want to hold the control key, because it's trying to do a soft constraint on a lot of geometry. So if I hold control, you're going to see that now that doesn't persist. All right, so I'm just going to place 2 points, and I'm going to add a dimension, and for this the overall is going to be 12, and I'm going to make it 5 from the edge. And I could, if I wanted, not necessary, but if I want to either know this dimension or place it, it's going to flash me a warning saying this is over constrained. I can choose OK, and it's going to create a driven dimension. And what that means is it's just reporting a dimension. It's just reporting the size. It's not driving anything. It's just there for your information. All right. So, all right. So let's get these constrained. And again, I kind of like my horizontal vertical, so I'm going to place this one and this one, and you'll see right away they come in horizontal. I'll choose this one with the origin, and there it is. I could certainly have added a dimension someplace here if I like, but I know that that's why I chose my center plane in the center of my body. So I'll stop the sketch. I am going to create a hole. I'll choose this one and this one. Now this one, I think I'm going to make it just a little bit deeper. I think this one I am going to go, you see that I've got room in there. So I am going to choose, let's see, I'm going to go for the depth. Let's try 2.25. I can go a little bit deeper than that, I'm sure. 2.5. That works fine. So I'm just changing the depth. And I'll say OK, and I'll place the threads on those real quick. I'll select this hole. It already knows that's going to be 2 millimeter. Hold Control. Say OK. Forgot to model. So if I want these threaded, I'll say Edit Feature, and I can go back and add the thread models if I like, and you'll see they come up pretty nice. All right, so there's our model with threads added on the example, and in the drawing I think I just have the threads are not modeled. This is a just basically a picture, a bitmap that's placed over it, so it gives you the appearance of threads. And there it is. So we have our timeline down below that gives us every one of our steps. Again, you can keep an eye on your drawing here if you like and see. There we go. I forgot some of the radius. Let's go back and add that. I forgot these radius. So for this one, let's add a fillet. So I want to fillet here and here. Let's pull them out a little bit, and I think this is going to be a radius of 2. All right, these are, I will say OK there. All right, and the other one we forgot was this one here. So let's put one here, and we'll click and just pull this out a little bit, and I think we'll leave this at 1, and we'll say OK. There we go. It's a good thing I went back and looked at this a little bit. I almost forgot. And there it is. So degree of difficulty is not real high on this. It's got a lot of nice features, holes and threads and fillets, some sketching problems, but I think it worked out pretty nice. So hope you learned a few things here. I hope open your eyes to something just a little bit different. If you have any comments or suggestions, leave them down below in the comments section. And that's it. So again, this is Dave Briner from Synergist Technologies. Have yourself a great day.